US President Donald Trump is heading to California as the state fights its worst wildfires in history. The blazes have killed at least 35 people. The search for others has begun as rescuers begin to access places that had been cut off. The wildfires have burned through about 5 million acres of land. Now, that's about 28 times the size of Singapore. California's governor, meantime, says that it's a clear sign of climate change. But the president, Mr. Trump, says that poor forest management, that is to blame. Simon Marks joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Simon, the US president hasn't masked his disregard for science over climate change. Now, this visit to California, how far do you think it's going to put into focus the political divide that exists over the issue of climate change and just how much of a role it plays in these terrible fires?
Look, I think it depends entirely, Dawn, on what cadences he chooses to articulate when he's in California in a few hours' time. As you have observed, climate change generally is not a topic that he likes to talk about very much. And when he talks about it, he tends to be very dismissive of the notion that human behaviour is changing the world's environment. By contrast, Governor Gavin Newsom of California, who along with officials in Oregon and Washington state now has literally his top issue is trying to deal with these deadly fires that are raging along America's Pacific West Coast. He has vigorously argued that this is a very, very clear indication of the impact of climate change on the United States. So there's no meeting of minds between these two men on that particular issue. President Trump has attracted amusement over the course of the last couple of years when on various occasions he has insisted that if only the forests were swept, if they were raked, this wouldn't be a problem. Critics say you don't understand the size of the land mass that would require that kind of approach, and they argue it's far from clear that that kind of approach would terminate these wildfires that are seen every single year in the west of the United States. It's not the fires themselves that are unusual, it's the winds that are fanning the flames that are unusual, the searing temperatures that are encouraging these flames to spread, according to environmentalists and ecologists. So we'll have to see what tone he strikes. This is going to be a rare moment when the focus, one would think, would be on climate change. But let's see what he has to say when he meets with some of those frontline workers trying to deal with this absolutely dreadful situation on the other side of the country.
Yeah, and we're edging closer day by day to the election in November, Simon. Experts are warning, though, that this year's wildfire season hasn't even reached its peak yet.
Yeah, no, we're just at the beginning of the wildfire season. I mean, much as you saw in Australia with the dreadful fires there earlier in the year, which started before the peak of the fire season, exactly the same kind of situation in California. I mean, essentially, unless the weather changes as it ultimately did in Australia, it's going to be very, very difficult to bring these under control. And the more this goes on and the more of a threat that it poses not just to property and land, but of course to human life, the more of an opportunity there is for Joe Biden to start talking about climate change on the campaign trail, an issue that Donald Trump doesn't really want to talk about, much as Donald Trump within the last couple of weeks was trying to force Joe Biden to talk about the issue of violence in some of America's cities that are run by Democrats. There's going to be a real tussle over the next 50 days about the subjects that dominate this election campaign, and it may well be that there is no single issue that is the most important issue in this campaign. If you're out on the West Coast right now, climate change is a big issue. If you're here on the East Coast or in the middle of the country, you're probably more eager to talk about COVID-19 and the economy. So very interesting weeks ahead.
It seems climate is running the show right now. Simon, thank you very much. Always good to talk to you. Simon Marks there, coming to us live from Washington, D.C.